I thought we had moved past this. According to Meg, it's a different chapter now, but we haven't. Meghan still wants to be seen as a victim of the press. Why does she want to be seen as a victim, either of the press or just in general, so badly? It's not necessarily like a positive thing. It's really bizarre, this fixation that she has with being seen as victimized, particularly by the press. For this video, we are using the terms press or media to encompass a variety of things. Actual news and articles, but also books, videos, commentary, and perhaps most importantly, comments from the public on that content. So beneath articles, news clips, videos, commentators, videos like this commenting on stuff going on, the comments section of all of those things is also included under this sort of umbrella of media or press for this video. Because sometimes it seems like the comments and the responses and the dislikes on all of those things are what Meghan is referencing more so than the actual press coverage itself, which oftentimes is fairly neutral and tries to remain purely factual as often as possible. But you may wonder what brought this up for me exactly. Bloomberg, that disastrous interview that she did towards the end, where she was saying how her friends and other parents at school who she sees in real life, and also her children, have to read the magazines and headlines about her with the tone of wanting you to feel bad for her about this. It was isn't this so terrible for me sort of a tone to her delivery on that. I will try to play the clip here if possible. Sometimes these things get picked up as a copyright issue, so I might have to delete the clip. If it gets erased, I do apologize, but I will try. I'll also link for you the original analysis of this interview, which also includes these clips.
My friends have to read those things. Like, I have real best friends, the same one since I was 17. Like, I'm a real mom. I choose to go and do school pickup and drop off, but I do that under a landscape that is created that forgets that I'm a real person. My kids will see those magazines, and we all know moms gossip.
While there is a huge degree of hypocrisy present, which we discussed in my previous analysis about this interview, this comment really goes beyond the hypocrisy of it. I found the hypocritical nature of what she said to be the most glaring thing and the biggest problem with what she said, because it ignored all the real people that Meghan herself has hurt and damaged through her own lies and actions and interactions with the media and choices that Meghan made. I think when it comes to speaking out about something that's going on in your life or that happened to you, that there is always a space for that and a right time and place to do that. And at times, it can be important to do so in a more public setting for certain types of situations and stories, if you will. But never should it be done at the expense of others, because they may not have the opportunity to share their side of the story. Unless they're participating in the same interview and have equal airtime to you to tell their side and answer what you said and have more of a conversation, I don't think it's fair or appropriate under most circumstances to do it the way Meghan did it. Like, if we were to just ignore the lies and just take her word for it, I still think the way that she did it, where she implicated real human beings countless times who then suffered the consequences without sharing their side, perhaps completely undeservedly, was unfair. Because there is always two sides to these types of stories and dynamics, and taking Meghan's word for things would be unwise with how often she has lied and contradicted herself. But setting that aside, because that's what I really focused on last time we discussed this, because I felt that was the most important issue. But beyond that, it really speaks to Meghan's fixation on blaming the press for the bad coverage that she gets. And this dates back way back to her early days with the royal family. It's unreasonable, laughable, and nonsensical for Meghan, of all people, to continually weave a fabricated victim narrative, a victim of the media always, sometimes victim of vague family members or staff, from someone who effectively bullied people on public platforms and used the press to manipulate stories that hurt other people. The fallout went on to everyone but her. Well, I guess it went on to her too, because now she's one of the most disliked people ever and her lies have been outed. But regardless, to understand why Meghan keeps doing this and keeps banging this drum of I'm a victim of the media and the press are out to get me sort of a vibe, one must consider what the potential benefits she may obtain through this angle could be. Because it's not, like I said, it's not an empowering or positive angle to take on. It doesn't seem very advantageous. It seems like kind of a bummer. And also there's a lot of problems with it. So why is she still doing this? It has been about 2 years since the most egregious of Harry and Meghan public attacks on their family and just other people. Their family got the worst of it, but there was also journalists and staff members and even people from Harry's school days who got lumped in and villainized and also just attacked or not spoken of very nicely across all of Harry and Meghan's projects in recent years and interviews and things like that. But their family members certainly got the worst of it, Harry's family specifically. Although this has not been forgotten by most people, and some barbs have still slipped through from Harry and Meghan in the meantime, the most direct and blatant shit-talking and the lies have sort of faded to some people because a couple of years ago, they did slow down on this. Therefore, Meghan may see an opportunity here to pull in some sympathy at this point in time, framing herself once again as a victim of the press, the royals, or public scrutiny, allows Meghan to appeal to people's empathy. It creates an emotional connection and casts critics as bullies while she appears relatable and wronged to some people who have not stayed familiar with this story or never were familiar with this story. Using empathy for power only works on people who don't dig any deeper or who are completely unaware of that history, though, which isn't a huge population at this point. Harry and Meghan are so oversaturated. There's a very small group of people who don't know the background or who are unwilling to ever look into the background and just take Meghan at face value. That's a narrow group, but it is there. It also allows her to feel, at least, some degree of control over her story, even though most media outlets poke holes in with the things that she says. By blaming the press or unfair treatment, Meghan recenters the conversation around her perspective. She shifts the focus away from controversies and lies that she's told or negative opinions about her, and instead makes the act of criticism itself the story. So even though she's not able to completely combat the narratives about her, she is able to reframe the voices that criticize her as invalid, over the top, in some way, or bullying by doing this. It also could be tied to a PR and branding strategy. Something like victimhood can be powerful branding in some circumstances and situations. It positions Meghan as a survivor of institutional cruelty and media harassment, in theory, aligning with broader cultural conversations around mental health, isms, and empowerment. However, the struggle for Meghan there is that she is not honest about these things, and even if we were to take her complaints at face value, things like having to wear pantyhose at a job, having to be patient while you wait for a new multi-million-pound home to be renovated, and living in smaller quarters in the meantime, not getting first dibs on projects over others who are more senior in their position, these are small potatoes, small problems. People not wanting to borrow lip gloss with you, people maybe not being super huggy and touchy-feely when they first meet you. Regular healthy boundaries. These are small problems, nothing big or major that would be worth scorched earth like she did. So even if we were to take her at face value, she still, when you look at it, does not her complaints do not amount to some powerful victim narrative that could really connect with people or inspire people in the way that I think she thinks it would. Another benefit to this I'm a victim of the press narrative could be deflection, just pure and simple deflection from accountability. Kind of like the controlling the story of like, oh, actually the act of criticism is what is problematic here, not what I'm being criticized for, is kind of reframing it in a way, like manipulating it. On a very similar tip, we have deflecting. This narrative provides a shield in a way. Instead of acknowledging legitimate mistakes like documented inconsistencies, lies, strained relationships, staff resignations, rumors of being a terrible boss, things like that, Meghan often reframes the backlash as unfair attack, which helps her avoid responsibility while reinforcing her narrative of resilience. And it also provides a contrast with the royal family, whom she makes sure she is associated with still, by constantly using her title and referencing it in direct or indirect ways. She is maintaining a tie and a connection with her image to the royal family constantly. By presenting herself as the outsider who is mistreated, she implicitly casts the royal family as rigid, cold, or even hostile, and this contrast fuels her and Harry's truth-teller positioning even when their version of events is questioned. So it's a very tricky, sort of almost subliminal way to try to move the public opinion in a more positive direction towards Harry and Meghan. So this habit of framing herself as a victim of the press who struggles with the unpleasant reality that people see negative press about her, even though she's ignoring the fact that she created that negative press, it's not, almost never do I see just completely made up, unfounded stuff. Like, you can find it. There's a handful of articles that'll pop up and a handful of YouTube channels or, things like that are like really shuffling around some sketchy ideas or things that are just completely unfounded or completely made up. But they don't do it just to Meghan, they do it to everybody. Meghan isn't their only subject or anything like that. What Meghan's missing here is that the media that most people view is not just making stuff up. And most content creators or people around the web aren't just making stuff up or peddling rumors. Some are, of course, but that's a small number compared to the more valid and strong voices who are critical of her and Harry, which is based entirely in fact. Setting that aside, though, this victim narrative is not accidental. It's a defense mechanism, as well as a strategic tool to manipulate the public narrative around her as well. It garners sympathy, it deflects scrutiny, it reinforces her carefully crafted brand, and allows her to try to shift that public narrative away from focusing on why she's getting criticized to criticism is the problem. And I don't think it'll work. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this will ever work fully, because by nature, people think critically, hopefully always think critically about what they see in the media, about what celebrities or famous people are saying about themselves or about issues. But it is objectively weird for any celebrity or famous person to whine about such things in an interview. Like, that is just a weird thing to do. What it ultimately leads to is people realizing that she's getting this negative press and has lots of critics in large part because of her own actions, because of the history that we've been through. So why is she complaining about it to the public instead of fixing it? Ego likely plays a huge role in this. Even if people in real life don't believe a person who is high in narcissist who's lying about something, like, say you have a narcissistic person, somebody really high on the spectrum of narcissism, and they're telling lies to people in their real life, to their faces, and they know that you don't believe it. A narcissist will often take their lie onto social media platforms instead and get that validation for their lie there instead. So in this case, onto an interview. Meghan takes her lies into an interview because it offers her, or in any case, it offers that person high in narcissism the delusion that they have validated their own lie, because now it's out there in the media and there are people online who will believe them. And that is really important for somebody high in narcissism, to feel like people believe their lies, that they are controlling what someone believes about them. But I also find it peculiar because, or perhaps noteworthy, because there is a contrast here. Meghan often wants to convey herself as powerful, a leader. She claims to have changed an entire commercial campaign at 11. She wants to be seen as brave and strong, to have abandoned her royal duties and castle grounds to do things her way with Harold. Remember her big fat lie about a pilot thanking her for her service? So she wants to be seen as that, as this strong leader, forging a new path and all these things. And also progressive, you know? So then why, Meghan, why cannot she get past the criticisms on social media? Why is that such a sticking point that she needs to continually bring it up and reframe it and make it seem like it's invalid? Why not confront the criticisms and put them to rest? Why not just ignore them entirely? Why keep being like, no, I'm being victimized in this situation? No, you're not. No, you're not, Meghan. She says that she ignores them, as in just like negative stories or negative comments. We're not clear. She always just says, I don't see it, but I can feel it. Or I don't look at it. I'm not seeing it directly, but I know it's going on. That's just code for I do follow what's going on with me online and what people are saying. But she says that she ignores them or doesn't look at them or whatever. But then she says, but you can still feel it. Oh, can you? I don't look at lots of things online. I do not spend my time looking at news or following things online because guess what? I don't have the time for it. I don't have the energy for it. And you know what else? I can't feel these things because I literally have no idea about them. I don't know. I am blissfully unaware. I do not care. I don't want to hear about it. And I don't feel it because I don't know it's there. I don't know what's out there in certain internet news cycles or spheres. So if Meghan actually didn't pay attention and didn't look at things, then she wouldn't feel them either. It would be so much more on brand for Meghan and her repetitive dish soap story drumming away for Meghan to truly embrace ignoring the press entirely or even disengaging. Shocking idea, I know. How will she get any attention? But the reason why she can't actually ignore the media and the backlash and not let it bother her at all isn't just that she's watching it. The reason why she can't avoid clapping back to things in every single interview is because it bothers her. It actually does bother her. Otherwise, she would actually ignore it. Some part of her must understand that it's legitimate. The criticisms, the negative reviews, the backlash and dislike for her is warranted in some way, shape, or form. And some part of her knows that. Therefore, she can't actually let it go. It's not just a sort of split opinion of some people like you, some people don't really care. There's a handful of people that like Meghan. And then there's the majority of people who actively dislike and don't want to hear about her and think that she's doing weird stuff all the time. There's not a lot of just neutral, I don't really care. Think about celebrities. There's probably a ton of celebrities you could think of that you're like, I have literally no opinion of this person beyond the work that I've seen them do. And then there's some that you're like, I actually think I really like this person. I've seen a handful of interviews. They seem really nice or, whatever. And there's probably a really small number that you're like, this person rubs me the wrong way. I just really don't think I like this celebrity. They seem really arrogant or something like that. That's a small number usually. But the majority, it's either, I quite like them, or I really don't have any opinion on them because they're not putting themselves out there the way Meghan and Harry are. But because Meghan and Harry are incessant with constantly being in the media, because they're not real celebrities who have talents and work and careers. So they need media to survive, basically, to give them deals, to get their name out there, to sell their products, to do things, because otherwise, nothing, they will not get work. There will be no revenue streams because it's just, they're not celebrities. It's not the same thing. But the point is that she has found herself in this weird space of active dislike. And because that is the consensus, that means that the majority of people recognize there are mistakes here and there is stuff going on here that's rubbing people the wrong way, that's legitimate, it's valid. So that bothers Meghan a great deal. She must feel a powerful urge to change that and to be liked. It's clear a lot of her previous actions and choices were designed to engineer public adoration and affection, and at every turn, it not only didn't work, but it backfired and created a snowball effect, mounting evidence that she is contrived and disingenuous and manipulative. So her fresh iteration of this is to paint it as unfair that people in real life are rejecting her. The other school moms either don't want their kids playing with her kids, don't want to get together for play dates or hang around with her kids, or the other moms just simply don't want to chat with the Meg. She's not invited to be part of the mom groups, at least not the ones that she wants to be part of. And so here she's blaming the press for it rather than her actions. How sad that must be for her. But when it comes to the context of moms, I've participated in school pickups for years, and I always think how bizarre it would be for one of the moms to be so extra the way Meghan and Harry surely are. I mean, this exclusion that she's feeling with the other moms in the community and at the schools, it can't possibly have anything to do with bringing a disturbingly excessive 3 to 5 car convoy of black SUVs to pick up the kids every day from school. That surely isn't scaring anyone off. It can't possibly be the off-putting self-importance and special treatment that she surely demands for her kids, or the fact that she allegedly has them going by prince and princess at school. Can't possibly be any of that weirdness, no. It's certainly the media to blame. But what do you think? It was one of the most telling parts of the Bloomberg interview, and I am eager to hear your thoughts about this issue. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a happy day ahead. Please do consider subscribing and clicking the like button if you enjoyed today's video, but only if you'd like to. Have a happy day, everybody. Bye!